Are we live? Are we live? I was jiving with this music, everybody. Holy man, I'm digging it. Colton, what the heck? This is what we need on a Thursday morning, especially after this kind of week and month that we've been having. Alex, are you there?
They can't hear.
No?
Talk them here.
Yeah, sure. Alex, I'm calling for Alex.
Morning. Hi, Deb. Good to see you.
Alex, how's it going?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Wow, I'm feeling good. But I'm all worked up now. I have my exercise. I think I'm about to take my jacket off. I see you got a lovely jacket on.
I should take it off too, right? Working from home. I don't know. I don't know how to do this yet.
Well, I know. I come to the office, so I do with good reason have to put shoes on. Oh, you can't see that. I get shoes on. Honest, I got shoes on today.
Good choice.
No socks, just shoes. So I think we're going to get ready. Tell me, Colton, when you want us to start. We live? We're good to go?
Yep.
Awesome. Welcome, everybody. This is our 6th edition of Thursday Live. So have an awesome day lined up. So we got guest Alex Fallon. And Alex, say hi.
Hi, everyone.
Everybody. Yeah, say hi. And I'm going to go through a couple of housekeeping items, a couple of updates, noteworthy updates on the benefits side. Would love to formally introduce you probably in about 5 to 10 minutes, Alex. Alex Fallon from SREDA, President and CEO of SREDA, and looking forward to seeing and hearing some of insight with respect to our whole COVID journey. So a couple of things that I want to let the audience know. Of course, I think you're old hats to this. We are certainly interactive, but this will be taped and it will be on our Facebook, our Wiegers Financial and Benefits Facebook as well. For those who don't have Facebook, I just want to really stress that we are posting this to our website as well. So you can go to our benefits drop down and go to resources, and you'll see all of our videos that have been taped on the website as well. So I encourage you to, if you don't have a chance to watch the complete interview, or if you, we would love it if you would share it with your colleagues, friends, and other business associates, send it their way, and would love to get that feedback. The other thing that we want to let you know is that we do have a private Facebook chat, and we started this a few weeks, right, Colton? I should introduce Colton. Colton, the man. Look, you know what? We actually are the same color. Can you put your, look at this.
Love it.
Yeah.
We don't even live together, but we can. Our mindset's in sync.
I'm rocking the short sleeve dress shirt for the first time, but that's the summer feel, right?
He's looking pretty dudeish. I'm not gonna lie. So, so Facebook, we've got a private Facebook, and we are really pleased with the uptake. We've got about close to 100 members. We see a really good interactive conversation. So we are welcoming all clients out there, business community, HR leaders, executives, professional healthcare. Our partners are in there. So lots of great insight, right? Lots of great minds, and look forward to having the opportunity to share in conversation as well. I want to let you know that today, I think everybody knows that today is, or this week rather, May 4th to 10th is Mental Health Week. So the Canadian Mental Health Association is, which is very important and very timely, of course, with COVID, has really put that message out there to really talk amongst each other, to really share and support. There's lots and lots of great tools out there. I know that all of our insurers have come to the table and have got, I would call it tools, library of resources and articles that you can read, share with your employees. I really liked what they have for a website. I don't know if anybody's gone to their website, but you can appreciate this, Alex. I mean, we always get to this conversation where we call somebody and we say, hey, how you doing? And you go, oh, I'm doing great. Or I'm busy. It's one of the two. I'm doing great or I'm busy. But what you really want to say is I'm having a shitty week. So lots of stuff going on, no direction, feeling overwhelmed. And that's okay, actually. That's okay. And that's what this whole week is about, is to be able to express that, to say, I'm just having that moment, and rightfully so in today's time. So I do encourage you to certainly search out some resources that they have. Our insurance companies, all of them are coming to the table. What I am excited about is Bridges, one of our partners, is offering an app, an application, and it's called Avail. And they've given this, as most companies out there have given it as a complimentary option to the entire marketplace, to you as an employer, to your employees. So I want to say a shout out to Bridges for doing that. We're excited because they are one of our preferred partners. And what they're able to do is that if you sign up through our portal, through Wiegers Financial and Benefits, what you're able to do is access a lot of cool reports. So it's going to be able to allow you to look at what's going on, to identify those areas that you really want to focus on. So thank you, Bridges, for doing that for us as well. Couple quick things. Our virtual onboarding kit, I mentioned it briefly in our private chat. I mentioned it as well at last week's session. A lot of people are saying, of course, we can't meet face-to-face and do onboarding from every level, from the HR level, right over to onboarding them to the employee benefits program. So we're coming up with our famous SREDA kit that will help you identify those steps that you need to take, make this very simple for you, and allow you to make sure that you've covered off the essential and important items that provide that insight or I guess reporting, so that if everything was to go well, it's well, but if things don't, you've got something to back up your conversation on. We also have done a layoff kit. And for those who have already been able to review our layoff kit, I always look forward to your feedback, but we've enhanced it. We've actually taken it 2 or 3 extra steps further. And one of the reasons why we did that was because they were in those waves. And the waves, we talked about it a bit last week, where we talked about the returning to work, and there's a struggle point, and one of our speakers coming next week, and Stephen Nicholson from the W Law Group will speak to that. So we're from there. We're in a temporary layoff. Now we're going to a permanent layoff. And what happens after that? So you're either going to go to a permanent layoff, or you're going to be reinstating them back to work. What does that look like? So we put those documents and added them to our layoff kit on both levels. If you do a termination of employment, there is conversion options. That's in the kit. We say, if you're reinstating, here's the things that you need to be thinking about. So we're trying to make this so it's very simplistic for you when you're going through it. I love checklists. It just keeps me organized. And then a couple things. Opening week of business. We're seeing lots of interesting things going on. It's exciting that the community is now pushing forward and we're opening our doors. But there are some challenges. We're hearing some of it. We'll voice them back to you when we hear them. But one in particular that you may be hearing is dental offices. There may be some charges that are incurred. We don't know if they're all. But if they do come to your attention, let us know. We are obviously pursuing those. And I know we've had that experience with one client. And what we're just trying to do is identify who's the payer of that extra charge. And we'll let you know that. We had an employee that went to a chiropractic appointment. She said the experience was awesome, but very different, very different. You're sitting in your vehicle because of space, right? Social distancing, and they call you from your vehicle to come in to do your assessment. And of course, they've done all the protocol that is required from the government. Shout out to Haley McIntosh, or Lasha McIntosh. She's Warman Physiotherapy and Wellness. She is one of our preferred partners. And we want to certainly encourage people to think of her, because she has moved into that space. We've talked about it lots, telemedicine, telehealth, and she has now got telerehab. And so it's allowing her to provide a level of service to clients virtually. And it sounds like it's going very, very well. Of course, she's preparing for people to do visits, but they all understand, all of our professionals in that healthcare sector that are doing this know that there's limitations to what they can do at work. So that's the one thing that we want to be thinking about. You can still access both and be able to get that high level of service or care that you need. I did mention that Stephen is going to be joining us, the W Law Group. So please check in. We're going to talk a lot about landlord and tenant rights, rather. A little bit more about that refusal to work. A lot of talk about guidance resources for people that are looking at needing refinancing, restructuring. I'm sure, Alex, you're going to probably have some resources for us as well. And lastly, really excited to have Christine Rudka on May 24th. She's chair of the Canadian Pharmaceutical Association and as well a pharmacy owner. Love to get her insight, what she's seeing in her world. So that all said, let's get the show rolling. So Alex, Mr. Alex Fallon. I've had an opportunity to meet and connect with them. We are members of SREDA, so know all the awesome things that you do out there, Alex. And we were excited to be part to the forum before all this happened.
Yeah.
But it was exciting. Oh my gosh, it was so exciting. So, we got to move over this way. We're going to adjust ourselves there. Got it? So love to have you. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and nice to talk with everyone today, and hope everyone's doing well.
Oh, I think there's a lot of people that are doing well, especially this week, but I think excited to hear what insight you have. Love the fact that Alex is from Saskatoon, so he's a hometown boy, but you've made many travels around the world. So I think that, to share some of those experiences through your journeys, I think really helps provide, our businesses good opportunities out there in terms of what can and can't happen. I love the Saskatoon berry pie story. I have to think that a lot of people know about that.
That's the one where we took some Saskatoon berries to London, England, literally in our suitcase, some Saskatoon berry jam, and our goal was to get it on the menu at a Gordon Ramsay restaurant. And we had no plan, we had no ins, we just arrived in the airport. And I remember went with Anna, who was a colleague at the time. We literally arrived at Heathrow, got changed in the washroom, and then we went and hit the road, hit the pavement, knocked on doors, and long story short, I think it was 6 days later, Saskatoon berries were on the menu at a Gordon Ramsay restaurant in London. So we did that as a bit of an exercise to try and push ourselves and show that if you set bold, impossible goals and get to work, they can happen. So that was a fun trip.
I think that'd be exciting and so much fun. I mean, it kind of reminds me, as you said, that it reminds me of our little journey, Colton and I, when we were doing the road trip to LA for the Jimmy Kimmel.
Right.
If everybody remembers our Care for Kids mission last year. And I was looking at some videos actually, and I went, man, we were like, I was going to say a word. We had a ton of fun. We had a ton of fun. And I was just like to the moon when we met Jimmy in the parking lot and we got the signature on his cutout that we had brought along. So if anybody wants to have a good laugh, you should go back and watch our videos. We posted them all on our Care for Kids, but just jumping out there and doing it, right?
Well, and that whole thing, just to jump in, that was inspired by Alex's Saskatoon berry story. Like that was the story. And I came back and I told Tanya about that. I said, this is so ridiculous, but and then it got the whole thing going on, what should we do? And it just got crazier and crazier. Yeah.
He went everywhere with this. So your big audacious goal.
Exactly. We've got to push each other, right? Is you do something impossible. Some people might think it's ridiculous or whatever the word is, but you go try and do it anyway, and then someone else takes it a step above. So we got to push each other to do the impossible.
Yep, absolutely. So no, and I think with all those experiences that you gain and that you share with our audience, I mean, you did that poem, and I remember you did it a couple of years back, and I mean, that got like thousands of hits, like 17,000 hits. Like that's amazing, right? And it was a great story in a poem.
Yeah, I think that was I think you're referring to, that's the Saskatoon I Know poem, which, another example of doing crazy, impossible things, right? And sharing that with people. So it was a poem I'd written about Saskatoon years ago. I was actually watching an episode of Full House with the kids and just writing. I like to mess around with words and poetry and stuff, and wrote this little poem about Saskatoon. But then I was kind of, embarrassed about it. So I hid it in a drawer and kind of forgot about it. And a couple of years later, my colleague, Erin Lawson, who's our amazing marketing director at SREDA, she came to me and said, we need to do a video about Saskatoon, an economic video. I said, well, those tend to be a little bit boring, so let's try and do something different. And we got talking, and she said, well, do you have any ideas? And I was like, well, I've got this kind of poem I wrote about Saskatoon. It was on this little piece of paper, all folded up, gave it to her. And it's about other people believing in the idea, right? And she said, that's great. Let's do something with this. So we turned it into that video. It's on YouTube, thesaskatooniknow.com. And it blew up, and it was this little crazy thing. And love Saskatoon. So I'm glad that video resonated with people.
Oh, I know it did. And I know, you know what, you had such conviction when you wrote it. I'm sure you could tell the words when you read it. I remember when it came across the video at the forum, and I think it gives inspiration to the business community that we have to be remembering what we are all working towards. and the greater good of the growth of our community, our businesses, and our families, right? So thank you for coming on board. So today I'm going to throw a couple questions at you. Lots of stuff's been happening. Like, what happened? What was going through your head when this whole thing came down? Like the 12th of March, 14th of March. It's a blur. What was going through your head when this all started?
It is a blur, and like everyone, we started to read little news articles here and there. One of the things SREDA does is we send out the SREDA news flash every morning, which has the top news stories from around Saskatchewan, Canada, and the world. And we've been following this story about the virus outbreak, and we did start to think about when and if this is going to affect Canada, Saskatchewan, Saskatoon, and what's that going to look like. But you just kind of dismiss it a little bit and hope it never happens. So I think, like everyone, we were a little bit surprised on how quickly that kind of shutdown happened. I remember we were at the SREDA forum, I think it was March 6th. We had 600 people, and it was business as usual, I think, on that day. And then very quickly afterwards, a couple days, that kind of shut down and the spread of the virus started happening. And like everyone, we paused and we looked at our priorities and pivoted. And first of all, we made sure everyone was safe, working from home, took a little bit of a break, and then we got about to trying to figure out what do we do now. So we were caught by surprise, like a lot of people, and it's been a interesting time.
Yeah, it was a very surreal moment. I think I would call it that, and because I know in talking to many clients and businesses and friends that own businesses, and I remember my one girlfriend, she owns an accessory shop that, purses, jewelry, all that stuff. And she said, literally coming from my buying trip in Vancouver, boarding a plane.
Yeah.
And at the same time shutting down my shop. Like she said, it was just like a dream. She said it was, and then I went home and then I had to stay inside for 2 weeks.
Totally. And I think that
like, wow, right.
The speed and the shock of that really impacted, you talk about mental health, it impacted people's mental health, families, and the shock on business that it was so quick. So there wasn't that time to plan, to make arrangements, to try and figure out a pivot. It just happened so quickly. So that's, I think, one of the many unique things about the situation we're in is it wasn't like a slowdown in the economy or a recession or where you can see it coming. This was literally overnight for a lot of businesses. So that's a big adjustment.
Yeah. Absolutely. And did you see, as the role that you guys have as SREDA in the community, did you get a lot of calls? Like, what was it sounding like from the community back to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think like everyone, SREDA was affected just like everyone. I think almost every person, every business in Saskatoon, of course, has been affected. And we knew we were going to get a lot of calls and inquiries. And one of the first things we did was we created a COVID resource package. And the website's on the web page is on the SREDA website, listing all the federal, provincial programs available for employees and employers. And we thought we'd get, maybe a couple hundred views, maybe 1,000. And I think last time I checked, we had 10,500 uses or reviews of that package, which just goes to show that, every type of company, every sector across the Saskatoon region has been impacted and are looking for temporary support solutions. And we're all affected. And that's another unique thing about this. It's not just one sector, not just mining, agriculture, retail. It's every person and every business in Saskatoon has been impacted. So it's unprecedented for sure. And that's a hard thing to deal with.
And you're right. And I should pause. I know that we're doing a lot of bantering, but for those out and watching, if there's any questions, bring them on. We can certainly address them before, during or after. So certainly welcome your questions. But to your point, Alex, exactly that. Like what I was finding is that when we were talking to businesses, it was almost like, first of all, I was like, well, we'll just deal with it. It'll be a few weeks. It'll blow over.
Yeah.
Now we're kind of going, what do we need to be thinking about? And this week, actually, I've been feeling and sensing that with the opening, although it was very positive, it created another level of stress, for lack of better words, from people because it wasn't that simple. I know it sounded really simple, and the government's done a great job, and they provided these subsidies. But voices like yours and the chamber and the NSB, I think, become incredibly important because it's a trustworthy place to go for business to get those answers, to get those resources. Even though they're out there, I think they would trust coming through vehicles like yourselves and to get that. But I know what we're hearing, because I mean, I deal with many clients, like hundreds of clients that are everything from a spa to the trucking company to the nursing home. And so we get all sorts of stories. And some are good.
Yeah.
Some are really good, but I think some are quite challenged and concerned with what this opening looks like in terms of just, what they need to do and they're expected to do, and what the consumer doesn't know they need to do. They would want this thing to be just like going forward, no change, nothing new, but it's not that. So have you got a couple examples of what you've seen happening out there with some of the clients that come to you going, sounds easy, Alex, but wow, like how am I supposed to do this? What's everybody else doing?
Yeah, I think the clients that are being very successful are the ones that are thinking really long term, that this is a new way of operating, and I've got to plan my business model, the way I operate and serve clients longer term. So it's not just waiting for things to turn around again and go back to the way they were. I think we're past that. So the real successful businesses are thinking really long term. How do I implement new systems? How do I change the way I deliver my business? And those are the ones that are doing well. And I think also it's been interesting seeing this correlation between the really successful businesses I've seen are the people who are kind of bringing the fire every day. Like they're just trying to figure out, okay, we know the situation's terrible, so what are we going to do about it? How are we going to change things? How are we going to keep going? And they're doing really well. And and the companies that are waiting for this to pass or think it'll go back to the normal, they're gonna struggle, I think. So it's about your ability to adapt, be innovative. And I know these are buzzwords we always say, but it really is about, can you figure out how to do things differently, quickly, and change the way you do business? Because the economy and the way we interact with clients and businesses has changed for, I think, a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was interesting. I was talking to, my one of our partners, and she does the physio. So I've got all those, practitioners, call them, chiropractors, physiotherapists, optometrists, dentists. And, I've been, kind of just hearing what's happening with them. And they said exactly that. Like, there is just nothing normal about this. Hair salons. And it was like, okay, so how do we do this? Right. And so I know one of the challenges that I've heard is, as much as we're supposed to, and we are all practicing social distancing, the business world really can't. They just have to have these protocols. Because how do you social distance a dentist or a physio treatment? And so that's where I think we hear some of the voiced, concerns, like the cost of going into doing this. I know one of our salons that we work with, they said it's in the thousands of dollars just to have all the protocol in place, right up to having the temperature, or the thermometer where you test their temperature before they come in the door. Like, so I think, I would be interested to hear what you've got to say and how you would respond to, like the businesses or to the community, because I don't think that the consumer realizes all these things are going to have to go into it. And there's going to have to be an absorption of a cost, or someone's going to have to cover this. And it's a piece we quite often forget. It's not just open the door, let's go. It's this. And so where do you see this whole thing? If we are going to operate in business, where and who would you think would want to be stepping up to the plate to say, and we'll cover that cost off for you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a game changer, right? So you're right that the costs are going up for most businesses. And also their sales revenue is probably going down, right? Because they have reduced capacity. So a good example was in the restaurant industry, right? If they're bringing people back and separating people by tables, well, capacity's gone down, sales revenue have gone down, but they still need that full kitchen, the waiter, the bartender, the products to make the food. So their costs they still have that, plus the cost of getting their business set up in a way that addresses these issues. So yeah, absolutely. I think companies and consumers need to start realizing that the cost of the consumer is going to change, and what can companies do to add value to the service they're providing. So, we're really going to see a period of, where the fittest survive type of business competition, right? Where you can add value, expertise, quality of service. That's really going to make a difference, because costs are going to be they have to be pushed onto someone, and it is probably going to come to the consumer at some point. So it's going to be a competitive world.
Well, it is. And, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's just accepting.
Yeah.
This is what it's going to be, because you have to understand from the business perspective that if their margins aren't very much, and we have to add this other layer of expense in, what their hope is that they can stay doing business and stay employing people and carry on and give back to the economy. And so there has to be a little bit of a team approach, call it that, to accepting this is what it is. No one asked for it, but this is what we need to do. And when you say innovation, I mean, absolutely. And the way of working virtually, I think, has really pushed us into a new space. And another good thing that, because we've been dabbling in this for a very long time and on every level, because really when you think about when Skip the Dishes came out, you went, well, why would we do that? Right. Yeah. Now you get clients, I've got the business community, and I've got clients saying our preference is actually to still continue to do a fair amount of business on that. You call me, you order, we put it on the doorstep, or maybe we'll deliver to you, because they're realizing that the cost of the whole production of this comes down. So it's a piece of revenue that comes with at least a lesser expense on top of what you want to do, obviously, in that personal social environment. So, and businesses that aren't willing to go down that road, to your point, I think will suffer a little bit, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And consumers at the same time are being more, they're making hard decisions about how and where they're going to spend their money, right? Their consumer spending's gone down. And so they're really going to be picky about what they buy and where they buy it from. And so I think there's an opportunity there for local companies and also those local experts to really become a go-to source for business.
Yep, exactly. I'm going to do a shout out. I'm just seeing a couple of notes coming through. Colton's doing such an awesome job, and I'm
love it.
I'm trying to take his cues off to the side, and I'm just going, I'm reading, and I'm going, I'm not quite sure.
We're live. Let's do it. Check in with Colton.
So, hey, shout out to Shauna. Shauna's in the audience. So, Shauna, you and I have talked lots, and I understand 150% the challenges from the hotel side. So, if you have a question, please bring it on. But Colton had another comment that was brought up. Let me just see if we can. Okay. He's asking me to read something, and I can't read it, Alex. Okay, what's it say?
We're working on this back and forth piece.
Sorry, I told you we're just gonna have an armchair. We're just going with it.
I'm trying to do the cues. I just wanted to give a shout to Flex Networks. They said these are always great. Glad to be here.
Okay.
I know, Matthew Murray with Flex has been watching, I think, since probably the beginning. So just want to
thank you so much.
Let some of the people in the audience know that we know you're here too. And actually, to your point, I do have a question from Shauna.
Oh, awesome.
We can read out here.
Okay. See, I've got glasses, but these are for far. So you've seen me. I've actually been known to have 3 sets of glasses on my head. Far, near, sun. So go ahead.
I'll throw it on the screen, and we'll just see if it will it show it all?
Oh, when you talk about pricing and added costs. Can you see that, Alex? At your end?
I can. So I think your question, hi, Shauna. I think your question is around, what happens when businesses keep reducing their costs to try and win business, and it's bringing the price down lower and lower in the market. And yeah, that's a tricky one, because that's economics. That's going to happen in a supply and demand environment where the cost goes down to try and attract consumers. But it's that double-edged sword of the race to the bottom. So I think that's where the quality is going to come in, and making sure that price is one thing, but making sure you're getting that quality product or service, making sure you're getting it from a real expert in that sector. And also, I would suggest making sure that's going to a local business that has a local team and local owners, etc. So it's going to happen. You can't stop it, but in the long run, a lot of those businesses won't survive, because if you keep dropping cost, that's not a great business model. So but we're going to see that for sure. And I think that's another reminder that this is a long-term game. So that might happen for the first few months, and it'll filter out some businesses. But we need to look at this economic recovery stage as, months and months and months, and probably a year or two, right? It's going to be, you talk about waves or seasons. It's not going to be a race to get back to normal in 3 months. It's just not going to happen. And I think companies who take that short view, they're going to struggle. And the companies that can maintain their quality and a price longer term with good service, they'll have a better chance of succeeding. So it's going to be tricky though, because we will see that.
Absolutely. There's another question.
Another from Shauna.
Shauna? Supporting local. You know what? You were reading my mind, Shauna, because I was going to say, we're all about Saskatoon, and I was going to ask Alex, because I know what his answer is going to be, going, well, if you had to be anywhere and get through all of this, where would you want to be? And why do you think we are, did I answer it? I did. I'm going to answer for Saskatoon, of course. But why would you want to be here? And what can we do? What are we doing right now to support the community, to support these businesses? Like, are you seeing those things? Is there any examples you can share?
Yeah, a lot of questions and good questions. My thoughts on those are, absolutely. We still need to remember that we are in one of the best places in the world, literally. And that's because of the relatively small population. I mean, 1.2 million people in the province with this natural resource base is still a great place to be. We need to remember that. Mining base, agriculture, oil and gas, science, tech, innovation, that's all still here. So that's going to help us in the long term. And the lower population compared to the rest of the world is going to help us, absolutely. Things like the announcements around infrastructure spending, that's going to help drive confidence, consumer spending, trade jobs, supply chain, that's definitely going to help. So I think the government has made some very good announcements that are going to help, but also at some point that money's got to be paid back. There's going to be some of these costs are going to have to be covered sometime in the future. So Saskatchewan's absolutely still a great place to be. And in terms of shop local, yeah, I mean, big topic. I think everyone gets that approach. Shop local, and more of that money stays within the province, the city, the region, in the economy, and goes around the economy, so it gets spread around. SREDA is working on a really cool initiative around that takes it another step further than just supporting local, and it's looking at the local supply chain that goes into different products, goods, and companies in the Saskatoon region. So more on that later, but absolutely we're working hard on that. And the more we support local, the more money stays in our economy, circular flow of money. That money goes around to multiple homes, multiple people, multiple stores, and keeps moving around our economy. So it is key to the recovery. Absolutely.
So Alex, I'll just jump in. We have a follow-up question from Shauna saying, how can you educate people to know what is truly local? And we have a question from Josh about the economic stimulus. So if you might be getting to both of those questions, we can keep rolling, or do you want me to throw one on the screen? You can tackle it right now.
Yeah, no, that's good. So Sean is really pushing me here because, my team will kill me for announcing this a little bit early, but I love it. It's something we're working on. So, let's bring the fire and talk about it. What we're working on is a bit of a certification process or a level to show how local is a company or a product. And, it might be level 1, where 40% of their inputs are local. Level 2 might be 60% and above, right? And so consumers will then be able to see, right, this is a local company, but to what extent? So do they get their supply chain, raw materials locally? Are their owners local? How much of their workforce is local? Where's their head office? And give a bit of a tiered system on that. So consumers can then decide, make decisions to where to spend their money. And I think that'd be really key. And what we'll do is do the work to look at a company and work with them to help them show us how much of their business, their supply chain is local. So a good example of that is, say, breweries, a local microbrewery. They get their raw material, egg, crop, wheat, barley input locally. They produce it locally in their distillery. They sell it local, they're local owners, local workers, but maybe they're getting their bottles from Quebec or States or wherever. And that's great. How can we work with them to find a local bottle manufacturer? Maybe we pool together enough demand for bottles that someone wants to start a local bottle manufacturing facility here, and that increases their local supply chain. So it's things like that we're looking at is understanding the extent a company is local. And then once you understand that, how can they tap into the local supply chain to make even more of their business come from local sources?
I love that. And you know what I think would be really cool, because the fact that you're breaking it down and showing people where the matrix of this is, I think when I think of a line that I always, and I've said it many times, that's my new mantra, is that I said, it's not the strongest that will survive. It's not the smartest. It's the ones that are most adaptable. But if we know where those opportunities are, like this means people need to talk more. So when you break this information down and you put it out there, like someone who's in a line of business that says, you know what, I can pivot a bit
Totally.
and I can move to this space and I can make this work so that everything within that business is 100% local. So I think that means just more communication, more talking, more sharing in order to make that happen, right?
Yeah, and more information. So could be a label on the product or at the front desk of the company, right? Just explaining how local they are, and I think that'll be a good thing.
Yeah, and there's many people I know many people that are 100% supportive. I know Shauna, you're 100% supportive local. I know Sarah from Trusted Saskatoon, like they do everything they can do to go out of their way to make sure that they're supporting the local businesses, because as local, it means it means everything. It means everything. So it's a great point. So was there another question?
There was on the economic stimulus. Do you want to tackle that now?
Yeah, I think that was the announcement from, I think Josh is referring to the announcement by the provincial government on the infrastructure stimulus, $2 billion on top of some projects already announced. And yeah, I mean, we need to take a moment and pause and recognize the significance and of that investment and what good news that is for the economy, because it really is a stimulus package. And, we need people to digest that and realize that will create jobs, create spending, impact the supply chain, and help with consumer confidence and keep more people employed. And so it's not just an announcement, it sounds like one announcement and it's gone tomorrow, $2 billion, but we should recognize that that is going to definitely help the economy, especially in the short term. And it's a huge announcement, especially again, billions of dollars for a province with just over 1 million people. That's a huge investment. There aren't many jurisdictions that are able to or doing that. So it is good news. And I think like I said, we need to pause and just recognize how big of news that is, because it will stimulate economic activity, create opportunities, and that'll have a knock-on effect and increase other people's confidence, so they'll make investments. And it's a great day for the economy when things like that get announced.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it shows the support. I mean, and the objective is that we all push through this and we're successful, beyond successful, because they always say, the best time to really be starting an initiative is sadly at the bottom.
Yeah.
Because you work smarter, you work leaner, you work harder. You're just much more in tune with what's going on. And I think this is our opportunity to say, you know what, here it is.
Totally.
Now we need to look at what we can do differently. I know with us, there's everything different with what I'm doing. Like, I mean, it's and this is exciting, but we were kind of pushed into this space, even though we talked about it, ended up on our back burner. But now we find that there's great opportunities to really move forward and connect this community and have these conversations. Yes, Deb's about benefits, but Deb's a business person. Wiegers is a business. And what do we need to be thinking about? What do we need to be sharing with the community? And you know what? We're going to fail. I think you had an awesome line in there. In fact, you said something. Oh, yeah. So although you ran your own company for several years, he's fondly referred to it as a great failure.
Absolutely. Right?
That's what we got to do.
That's entrepreneurship. Is there's going to be epic fails in there, and you got to go again, right? And I agree, Deb. I think this is. I love that quote. I forget who said it now, but something along the lines of, rock bottom was the perfect solid foundation to rebuild my life or my business, right? And I don't think we could have ever imagined or forecasted such a hit to the economy. It's happened now. The biggest hit to the economy in our lifetime. This is going to be in history books in the future, and so it's happened. So here we go. How do we rebuild our business model, our team, our costs, our revenue, and how do we change the game? And when you start thinking like that, I think that's where the innovation kicks in, and you start to have new ideas about pricing model, longer term relationships with consumers, getting into other areas of your business, changing what your product is used for, how it's delivered. And so I think that mentality is a good one to have. Is things are we took a hit, a huge hit, can't get much worse, but it's happened. We're still here. So how do we get going again?
Yeah. And at the same time, to be real about it, we have to be realist to say, I think that's where, there's a bit of a push and pull, is that the reality is there is not so many cool stories out there.
Yeah.
But that's just real news. That is what it is. So, we can all pretend that it's all great, but it's not all great. I think we have to just dig deep, work hard. The people that are passionate about their business or this community are going to push through that, but they're also realists. They realize that it is different. It has changed, and we can't sugarcoat this thing anymore.
Absolutely.
So, I think of you guys, and I think about what SREDA is all about. And you guys have a vision, and you probably talk this talk all the time with businesses out there.
Yeah, I think you're right, Deb. That's right. You can still be positive, but recognize things are not great at the moment. And the economy is just like the seasons. We're in a winter now, so it's cold, it's dark, it hurts, and it's going to last a while. But for sure, just like the seasons, we know the economy eventually will grow, and it'll go up and down again. It's never straight up. It's never straight down. And so we're in a down, but it's going to grow eventually, and let's get ready for that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you have created a couple of programs. Like, you guys have got a new initiative that you came out with, that 5,000 grant, and then you also have your other program, the Square One. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, one of the first things we did, like everyone, we paused and then we pivoted and we set aside our operations plan and basically wrote a new one. And one of the first programs we launched was our small business emergency continuity grant. So we scraped together as much money as we could from our reserve and our budget, and got that out into the economy to small local businesses. And we provided 28 grants to businesses across Saskatoon and the region to help them pivot, keep going, address some of their cost issues. And that was a great program. So we're happy we were able to do that. Our Square One program is our program that helps entrepreneurs start businesses. And, some people were saying, well, you're not going to be very busy. And actually, it can be the reverse, because in these economic slowdowns, people lose their jobs, people made redundant. They need to start a business. Lawn care, daycare, whatever it may be, they need to find a new job. And sometimes that's being self-employed to start a business. So we've been helping quite a few people look at how do they launch a business. So that program's been busy as well. And then I alluded to or mentioned the new program we're going to do around how do we measure what is local, and how do we increase the communication around that and consumer awareness around that. So those are been our pivot areas, and all three of those have changed. The grant program was brand new. We'd never thought of it until COVID happened. This local supply chain certification tiered ranking system we never thought of until this has happened. So like everyone, we were hit and had to adjust and trying to find new things to do and new ways to do them. And they're going to be great programs.
Yeah, no, and we appreciate that, because all the supports that we can get from the associations, the businesses, the people that get it, it certainly provides hope, right? So there's a question.
Couple of question and comment, and thanks Lorraine. She said you guys are doing a great job.
Lorraine,
thanks
hi.
for the information, great discussion. And I'll throw this question on the screen from Flex Networks. That's Matthew Murray here.
Yeah, huge. Absolutely. I think every family, every company, every individual has become more technological savvy lately. So that's great. But I think the real key in the next step is how do we become, how do we drive innovation? So new technologies, new way of working, doing business, and not just relying on what's already out there. So what I'm talking about there is new products and services. How can we even do more? So more to come on that. Absolutely.
And I'll be the first to admit, I always think I'm not that great tech savvy, but I'm somewhat tech savvy. But I'm impressing my team every day when I learn something new, because when you're working away from people, you just have to do it differently. And that's when the Debbie Stubborn comes out, and it's a great accomplishment. Maybe if anything, all through all this, I'll realize that I actually could do something that I didn't think I could do. Totally. And technology is first. It's first most important if we want to make this business community work.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there was another question.
Nope, just out.
No, okay, awesome. So we're at 11:44, so I think we're gonna to have to come to a close. I'm I'm excited for what you guys are doing. I think you guys are doing an awesome job. Alex, I always enjoy listening to you guys. I love your forums. They're very insightful. I come out pumped all the time. And I think as businesses, we need that because we get so caught into the everyday stuff. Sometimes you can't see the forest through the trees, right? Where, the motivation, that next step push for the entrepreneurs, I think that's incredibly important, especially now. I think that's what I feel is that the entrepreneurs out there are feeling like, oh my God, there's so much weight on their shoulder. They don't know what that next chess move is going to be. And they need that pat on the back to say, you know what, we're in this together. We've got some stuff going. If you need to have a chat, I'm sure if I called you up, Alex, and says, man, I need a voice, can you listen to, and can we share? And I think that what you guys are doing is fantastic, along with the other business associations, even the peer-to-peer, like we get, businesses that are starting to share with each other to really identify and understand that we're all in that same space. I think that will really help push us through these next few months, because it will be months. I know from talking to various businesses, an individual who spent many years more in the dean of dentistry, he says he believes that it's 2 years before they're going to get anything back to what they see as normal. You see the healthcare practitioners, they're saying 6 to 12 months. So these are long journeys that we as businesses need to be going through. And I'm sure through 2 or 3 of those months, everybody's going to go, like, I'm not sure if this is all worth it. But the fact of the matter is, if we stay together and we stay coaching each other, I think we'll survive. We have to survive it. There's no other matter. We'll survive it.
Absolutely. I think that coaching is important. And my challenge to everyone who's joined us today, thank you for joining us, because we know your time is valuable too. So thank you. So I want, my challenge to you, what are you getting out of this? My challenge would be, if you are feeling stuck, get a brainstorming session together and invite people who aren't in your usual circle. So invite SREDA, invite a mix of people, and have a brainstorming session on whatever your issue or your topic is, because that's where the new ideas are going to come from. You've got to get out of your circle. You've got to get out of your own group and sector and business model and talk to others, and an idea will come that you have, because you don't know that idea yet. You haven't thought about it. It doesn't exist. And so you got to do the brainstorming, and then you'll have that moment like, we can borrow what this person's doing or that idea, combine it with ours, and we have this new service, program, pricing model, whatever it is. So if you haven't done that yet, I would say do it, because it works. And do that brainstorming circle.
Absolutely. You know what? I always say, don't think normally anymore, think abnormal. And the more you talk, the more you learn, the more that comes out of that conversation. And it's almost like those, that's a good point. Man, I never thought of that. But the more you talk, the more you share, the more these things start to spin out in these awesome directions. We got another quick question for you.
Everyone got nervous that you were going to be gone, so we actually have a few, and I think, Alex, you can see them. We can save some to address later on in the group, or you guys can hit them quickly now.
Are we okay hitting them? You good?
Yeah.
I got the question
so I can see them quickly. I'm trying to read and talk at the first time, but I just had a conversation this morning with Mayor Clark, and I know the city are working on again that around infrastructure spending and their costs and programs. So they're working hard too. There's a question there about other businesses, and it's interesting, right? The economy is still going, and as an example of that, I know Joanna, my team, is working on a business attraction lead. There's a company that's interested in coming to the Saskatoon region, setting up a facility and doing business here. So there's still opportunity there, and Saskatchewan, of course, is still a great place to do business. So we're still busy promoting the region. Can't see all the questions, but I think those were a couple.
Yeah, I don't know if you wanted to throw one out, Colton, and then we can close it up. I'd love to help you, Alex, but I can't see it.
Yeah.
We had one from Shauna, which you touched on, which was, what are the discussion items you're addressing with the city? So you mentioned the discussions with Mayor Clark. One from Mike Cars. Shout out to Mike. He's always a good supporter.
Hi, Mike.
And he said, what are businesses interested in learning about Saskatoon when you're promoting them through economic development? And you touched a little bit on a couple of the groups that you've been in chats with, but maybe not what they're actually specifically looking for. And then one more from Matthew about how can local businesses support your efforts? And for everyone watching too, We just don't want to take too much of Alex's time. So if we can't fully address them, we can also do some sort of, reply to your comments after, or put them into another shorter video. So we'll do our best to expand if we don't get full time today. But Alex, I'll leave those with you. Whatever last comments you have on those questions or finishing comments in general.
Thanks. Yeah, I'd give a plug to the SREDA Newsflash, which is a daily email each morning. It's not a newsletter.
I love that.
It's literally the top news stories that affect the local economy, city level, provincial, national, international. And we get it out before 8 o'clock every morning. We've been doing that for 5 years. So if you like it, enjoy it, spread the message and forward it to someone, because information is key, and that's where the ideas will come from. And just get in touch with the SREDA team too, right? It's the brainstorming that really leads to the new ideas. So we're happy to help companies do that. And thank you to Wiegers for inviting us to be part of this. Thanks for everyone for joining us. A lot of great minds on this conversation we're having. So I hope it'll lead to one or two ideas, or even just push people to execute some of their ideas, right? I love this quote around ideation without execution is delusion. So, you know what the problem is. You've got some ideas, how to change, what to do, make some tough decisions. If you don't do it, you're going nowhere. So, we've got to execute as well after these discussions.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the most important part. There's great ideas out there, but if you don't move forward, I mean, maybe part of that, I can, with what you said, I can forgive myself for being attention deficit, because I things that I just want to move. I just want to go for the race. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, as long as we have the rest of the team to keep on, right, and do it together. But we need to do that, especially now. So thank you again, Alex, for coming. This is awesome information. I encourage the audience to reach out to SREDA at any given time. They're a great resource. Love the emails that we get on your notices, high-level notices about what's going on. It's really informational. So thank you for that. You're welcome to stay on. I wanted to just say, again, thank you, audience, for coming and joining in. Thank you for all the awesome questions. I mean, obviously, I knew Alex would have a lot of great questions that would be given to us today. Do want to encourage you to share this with others. We will be posting it to our Wiegers Financial and Benefits Facebook and on our website. So I would encourage you to share it with other businesses and community members out there. We do have that private Facebook chat. We do encourage it, because people like Alex need to be part of that. Alex, I'm going to shoot you an email, because I think what we need to do is create that conversation, that ongoing conversation, and really come together as a peer group and share and learn and grow from that. So thank you again. Next week, again, Stephen Nicholson from the W Law Group. Week after that, Christine Harutka, chair of the Pharmaceutical Association. Excited for that. And I'm going to do a plug, shameless plug, but a very important plug for Colton Wiegers. For those who are members of the chamber, they're going to be throwing out one last, I believe, Colton, email on Monday to put your vote in for the board of directors. And I highly recommend Colton for all the reasons of, you're not going to get a better guy that's very insightful, very committed to this community, hardworking dude. And we won't worry the fact that he's my son. He's just a great voice of reason and a great candidate to be on the board. So please support the community, put your vote in on that as well. So, oh, I know. But I'm excited. And there's lots of great things. I mean, I'm really happy that, they were able to get an interim. Sylvia Martini is an excellent candidate to be supporting as they go through the state steps that they need to as well. So anything else that we need to add in there, Colton? I think we've got it all covered.
No, I think we're good. We'll do our best to answer a couple of these questions later on. Maybe we'll chat with Alex and forward them to him if he wants to elaborate. We will continue conversations in the private group as well for anyone who's in there or who wants to be in there. We're always spurring some of the discussion there. And I just wanted to highlight a comment that Shauna left, which is, good job, you two, and Colton, stay strong, stay Saskatoon. That's a great little slogan there. Stay strong, stay Saskatoon. So that's a nice little thing to have.
Triple S. No, quadruple S. I like that. So thank you, Shauna. Thank you, Alex. It was been a treat.
Have a great day,
everyone. And seeing us move through these stages of new normal.
Definitely.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.